Hi everyone, it's Paul. This week I would like to look at little techniques for science with the iPad. I remember starting in my school in year 3 and be told that I had a child who was severely dyslexic and he was terrible at science. Turns out he wasn't terrible at science at all. In fact, he was the best scientist in my class by an absolute country mile. The boy understood things, he could explain things. When it came down to his work, he just couldn't show it. He had trouble organising himself, he had trouble writing it down, recording his thoughts. So when anybody looked at his work, it looked like he really didn't understand, when in fact he had such a deep knowledge and a really rich understanding that had he used something like Book Creator, it would have been absolutely perfect for him. So today I'm going to show you how you can create a science portfolio using Book Creator, and how to make it easy for your children starting right down from Key Stage 1 right up to Year 6. As always, please let me know how you find it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll catch you in the next one. So the idea here is that we create a template for our learners to use in Book Creator. So as you can see here, this is an example template that I use for scientific inquiry. So when we did space, we learned all about space. This was a great way to experiment and show what we'd learned in a previous lesson as well, in a previous unit as well, about forces. So let me just show you the template that I made here. So this is space pod mission. First page, just very simple shapes and drawings, and choose a background. It's got the success criteria in there, what I'm looking for in this lesson. Next page is the instructions, which I have recorded for them, and I'll show you how to do this. I find that in things like science, when you're using Book Creator, visuals and audio are great to support all learners. So the instructions, not only are they in written format, but if I press this button, your mission is to create a space pod for NASA for the next mission exploring space. Your pod will need to be able to travel back. I've also recorded it in the built-in feature in the Book Creator app, and that's ready to go. So they have it. They can listen to my instructions, they can read the instructions, they also have the pictures to help them. And on the next page is the template of what I would like them to do to help them organise their work. Now the reason that I find this really good is organising your work in science particularly is tricky, and I hate worksheets. Absolutely hate worksheets. And for me, the entire point of science should be about the scientific inquiry and pulling everything together, not about drawing tables and all that kind of thing and writing down what you've done. So I use this template to basically send over to my class, and it's very, very straightforward. As you can see, you've got explanation here, which is just explain what you've done. In this particular task, I wanted a drawing of their design, so I want them to draw that out on pen and paper, or they could use Sketches School. It was their choice entirely. Screenshot and put that into there. Photo of the finished model once they'd made it. I wanted a video of their experiment, which we went outside and we recorded, and then I wanted to see the results, and I wanted to find out what they would change based on what happened. You'll also notice on the written buttons, on the written boxes here, explanation, results, and what you would change is I've also put the option that, just like I did, they can record what they did. This way, just because they can't actually write it or type it, it's not excluding them from the great work that they've done. So I'll show you very, very simply how to make this. It's really, really easy. And then I'll show you an example of one that my class made. So to create that template, just hit the plus button on the bottom to create a new book. I always go landscape because it makes the page, the surface a lot bigger. I never dive straight into using the template on the first page, because if you look at the top, it says cover. Now, when you come to upload this or print it or try to combine it with other books, if they've done it on this one, you can't combine a cover. So it's definitely worth just putting in a cover. So I just hit the inspector there on the page, and I've got a list of comics, different backgrounds in there, patterns, textures, so I just went with the stars. Insert some text in the middle there. Space pod mission. Hit done. Obviously you can see it's really small, it's black, can't really stand out, so we just change that ever so slightly, make it a bit bigger, choose a better font. Went with that one. Just put that in there like that. And the first part is almost ready there. Just going to move that ever so slightly up. I saved a lot of images before, so if I go to photos and I go to compiled them all into space, I believe. Here we are. Just going to add some more pictures in there. And if you just pull it off the side, it just gives it a nice feel that when you press play. So like this, it only shows you part of the Earth, which I think is a really nice feature. So don't always be focused on the fact that you have to get the image on the whole page. That's a great tip for making things look much, much better. Just add a couple more things in there. So we'll go back to space again. Wherever it is, there it is. We will add in a little rocket. Just shrink that down, spin it on the side. And I'm sure that will do for now. Now what you'll also notice is whenever I do this, what I have is I have everything that I want already saved in my notes. So I've got my success criteria here, so I'm just going to select that success criteria that I've already typed out in notes. I'm just going to copy it, and hopefully what I should be able to do is, once I've got rid of the keyboard and moved that back to the side, and I'm just going to paste that in the middle. As you can see, it's the same size as before. Can change the font if you want it to stand out a little bit more, so let's just go for cabin, something simple, and we can still make that a little bit smaller again. And first page done. Really, really simple, very quick to do. There's our first page, which has got the success criteria of exactly what I'm asking to do. Now on to the second page, which is the introduction, the instructions, everything that we need to be done, and just a few photographs so they can see the resources. So just again, to keep it consistent, you can use the same template. I'm just going to cut this bit here, just pop that bit in, and I'm going to cut this bit here, copy that, because for some reason it hasn't saved correctly. Move that over there, and paste that there. So on the next page there, I've got my instructions. Again, it doesn't really stand out. All I'm going to do is, I'm just going to change the background colour of this one, and I'm happy with that. Just going to go back to my photographs of space. I'm going to add in the two eggs there on the side, just so they can see that spaceman is made of egg, or an extronaut if you'll pardon the dad joke. And then I'm just going to put in another couple of photographs. Of the materials that they're going to use. So they're going to use paper. I'm just going to line them up there so they can see very quickly. Paper, photos, space, string, and you kind of get the picture there. I'm not going to do all of them for you. So my instructions are there. You can read the instructions. Page is starting to look nice. However, not all my class will be able to access those instructions. So there are two options that when you play it, if you tap on the top corner, you can have the read to me.
NASA have asked you to design a space pod for their next mission exploring space.
Now, while that's a great feature, I think it's much more personable if it's me who's reading the instructions to them. So I'm just going to add a sound button and then just start recording, and I would just start reading this passage or put it in my own words. So I just tap the red dot, the record dot. NASA have asked you to design a space pod for their next mission exploring space. The pod needs to be able to travel back to Earth, and after being injected, land safely on Earth. I am finished recording. I'll just pop that up here. And there you are, ready to go. So when I hit play now, NASA have asked you to design a space pod for their next mission exploring space. The pod needs to be able to travel back to Earth and after being injected. Now what I could do is, if I tell my class how to do this, is I could put the sound button there, hit the inspector button, and then move it to the back and make it invisible in books. So what you can see now is I moved it behind the text, but it's also invisible in the book. So when I press play, NASA have asked you to design a space pod for their next mission exploring space. By simply pressing on the text is read to you. So that is step number 2, just to get that instruction page up and running really quick, really simple, especially if you have everything saved. Step 3 is let's create a template for them to organise their work into and give them a range of options about how they display it. Now what I like to say to my class is this is not set in stone. Everything does not have to be in the right place. Everything can be roughly in the same place, but it does not have to be exactly where it is. It's just to help you organise your work on the page. So next page, start making that template. Again, we're going to go with a consistent background. And what we're going to do is we are going to add some shapes. So on the bottom there where it says more and the 3 dots, if you just hit shapes and just add in some shapes, and I like to change the colours just so it draws their eye that there need to be lots of different things on that page. So I've changed the colour to white. I'm just going to double tap in the middle and I'm going to write explanation in there. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to hit more. I'm going to go to shapes. I'm going to add this one again. I always use the guidelines. I like things to be the same size. So I'm just going to tap in there. I'm going to do design of pod. So they're going to put their drawing in there. Again, I'm going to change that colour again. Just pop that one blue. I'm now going to copy this one because I know it's roughly the same size. Paste that there. And this time on this one, once they've made their prototype, is I want a photograph of the finished pod. Again, can't remember what the colour was that I chose there before, but we'll just make that a different colour. We'll make that red. I'm going to copy this one again, because this one will be roughly the same size as the video that I want to make. Just tap in there, change that, video of experiment. We'll make that one yellow, maybe, yeah. And then again, it's quicker if you actually copy and you paste them this way, if they're roughly the same size. So for this one, I'm going to go for results of our experiment. Again, we'll change that one to a different colour. Change that one to purple. And we'll just copy that one again. And we will type what we would change based on our results. And we'll just change the colour of that one again. We would just make that one green. So you can see straight away, really simple to make that template. Hasn't taken long at all. Only thing that's missing off mine is I'm going to add some more shapes. And for the bits that I'm expecting a bit of writing or a bit of explanation, I'm just going to put a record button on there. So I'm just going to make the size of the record button, the writing on the record button smaller. So again, I can shrink that down. So that is telling my class that you have the option to record your voice there instead. You have the option to record your voice there. And you have your option to record your voice there. Now the reason that I like this is science to me isn't about the writing. It's not about making sure that you do a beautiful page and writing up all of your work. Science to me is about your ideas, what you've noticed, your observations, your results, how you pull it all together. And I think that using Book Creator really supports this because it allows those who aren't particularly great at writing, like that boy I had in year 3 all those years ago, to really have a voice. And it makes it just easy to record the process. Even if you're doing something on the fly, you could record it simply, and then if they are capable, they could write it up later. But also, what I also like about Book Creator is, as with every iPad, if you turn this on in the settings, you have the dictation features. So if I was to add some text now, you notice the microphone on the bottom there, and I could just type something in there now with my voice. It's building confidence in those learners, where they can add their own little unique things in there, and they can add their explanations, and it takes the pressure off, because it's not about the writing, it's not about the recording, it's about the scientific knowledge and the scientific inquiry. So as you can see, that hasn't taken long at all to create that template, and really simple, really effective. Great way for them to pull their work together using a range of mediums to show things that, in the experiment, I find it really difficult to explain an experiment in words, whereas if you've got the video and you add some text next to it, or you add a voiceover, or you add a sound button, you can talk about what's happening in the video, and it's fantastic. Just find this a great way for science. So that is that. Really easy to make, really simple, and I will show you an example that my class made in just a moment. So back in the original book that I showed you at the start, as opposed to the one that we just made, there's the instructions, there was the template, and this is one that my class decided to do. So as you can see, it's not exactly identical there. Now what I like about this is these boys decided that they weren't going to use the record features. I think they did use a bit of the dictation features to help them with their writing, but as you can see, they've got the explanation of what they did. It's roughly in the right place. They've got a photograph of their design. Now my feedback on that would be, I need to actually see just the design. So next time that they do that, they would make sure that that's a cropped photograph, and it only shows what I need to see. They've just labelled their design next to it. I think what they could do, just to enhance it, just in case you didn't know what that was, is you could just get the pen tool, and you could just draw our design and a little arrow next to it there, like that. So we've got that there. They've got the photograph of the finished model there, which they were really proud about. And again, they've just labelled that there. They've got the results section there. They decided not to use those coloured boxes and take them out. They could have just edited into those boxes, but they decided that they didn't want to. And they've got the changes that they would make next time based on what they've done there. And they have the video here. So when you hit play, you can really see what's happened. You know that what's expected of them, because they would tap that to read. Your mission is to create a space pod for... Then they've left their template in. They just created their own page and copied it, but you could have edited these ones here, and straight away you can see that this is the explanation of what they did there. They've got their drawings, they've got the photographs, and they have their video here, which if you open it up, slow motion, did the experiment. Now that to me shows exactly what happened when they did the experiment, and it's so much easier to actually see what happened than to try and write it up and explain what happened. So you can really see the science that is taken place in that lesson there. And next to it is the results of exactly what happened, and they were really pleased with their experiment because it was exactly how they planned it to be. No damage, no cracks, and just on the end there, the changes that they would make. So they've said obviously that they go for a bit of a smaller base. Now that really takes the pressure off recording a science lesson. Also looks far better than it could ever put in any book, and it was a really engaging way to do science. And I do almost all of my science lessons this way, and just a really fun way to actually capture the learning explain the learning, show the different steps and the processes, and it takes me no time at all, but it really opens doors to all of our scientists in my class. So that's it. That's how you make a scientific portfolio template for Book Creator. I hope you find that useful. Please leave any comments or any questions or any feedback that you've got, and I'll catch you in the next one.